If you're tired of using serverless platform like Vercel, Netlify or Heroku, then Dokploy it's a tool that can help you host all of the applications that you have for your project on a VPS server easily. It will do all of the things that you need to have these applications running on your VPS server with ease. Dokploy it's a new application that will allow you to deploy applications like Next.js, databases, other applications that comes in Docker and Docker Compose, and also they have a few templates that can help you install applications like Plausible. And in this video we are going to take a look of how you can deploy Dokploy and what exactly Dokploy has to offer. So this is the dashboard of Dokploy. You see in here that I have installed it on a VPS server that costs about $5 a month, and this is the interface. The interface is clean and easy to use. So in here I have already a project set up, and this is the interface. In here you have the monitoring, so this will offer you an overview of your VPS with the resource utilizations. Doplo is using traffic behind the scenes to host all the application when it comes to web servers. And in here you have the Docker images that are on this server. In here you have an overview with all of the Docker images you may have. And in here you have the settings. And in here you can host this on your own domain and add a certificate so you can access it securely. Here you can link it to the GitHub. In here you have the options to update it and clean up the spaces. So this offers a lot of flexibility and helps you do most of the administration things of a server with just one click. In here you have the profile options that you can change. In here we have the appearance. You can switch between the dark and the light mode. You see in here the system. This is the one that it will be fetched from the system. You have the options to add S3 destinations, so you can back up your applications, databases to S3 destinations. In here you have the options to add your own certificates. You can add users. You can even create clusters. It's using Docker Swarm behind the scene to create clusters. I didn't try the cluster settings right now. So this is quite a new product, and in here you have their website. To install it, it's very easily. You just spin up a VPS and you just run these commands. We are going to see exactly how you can do that. And if we are going to check their GitHub repo, this is the GitHub repo for the projects. You see that this has like a few stars. It's about 4,000 stars. This is quite a new project, and you see in here it has only 7 releases. It has been released in May and is constantly updated. It has a very nice interface and looks to be a nice project. Lately there are a few alternatives that you can try to host your serverless infrastructure and move away from serverless cloud platform like Vercel, Netlify and the others. And yeah, in the interface, if you're going to check the projects, we're going to see this project. So in here, for instance, I have a Postgres database that is installed. You see that you can create user, you have the internal ports, you have the internet connection URL, you have the host with the port, you have the environment variables that you can set, you have the monitoring, so you can see the utilization of this container and the database. You can enable backups if you have the S3 enabled. You have the logs in here, and in here basically this is the Docker logs for this application. You have the advanced options, and in here you can mount volumes, you can assign limits to the Docker image. And yeah, this is for the database. You can edit the project if you want, you can delete it and so on. And in here, for instance, I have a static website deployed, so you can deploy it easily from GitHub. You have the build types with Docker file, Nix packages, Heroku build packs or Paketo build packs. So in here, I've just deployed the static websites easily. Again, in here you have the options to set the environment variables. You have the monitoring. For some reason, this is throwing an error right now. Again, this is a new product, and it's just been developed for 1 month and a half, and it's looking very nice. In here, again, you have the logs for the application. So in here, you have the requests that are made. You see in here. Deployments. In here you have the deployments for the application. You have the options to add domains to this. So for instance, I've added a domain in here for this website. So you see that it's working and it's just displaying nicely, and it's running fast because it's this static website. Again, in the advanced area, you have some options to limit the resources. You can add volume redirects. You have the options to enable the basic authentication. You can add ports. You have the traffic configurations for this if you want to modify it. So you have a lot of flexibility. If you want to change something, you can do that. And the other thing that I've set up in here was the plausible. And for this, you can just deploy it from their applications. Right now, there are only 3 applications. This has been just added. In the past, this came, for instance, without application when was the initial release, and it came also without any Docker Compose options. This has been added, so the developers are very responsive and they're adding features quite fast. So from my point of view, this project, it will be a success. It already is from what I am seeing, and it will help a lot of small business owners ditch Vercel and other serverless platform and just take your applications to a VPS server. So in here you see that, for instance, for the plausible, you have the Docker Compose file and with all the things that are needed to run this application. And if you are going to seek, here you can add domains. For instance, if you want, you can go and configure the plausible application. Again, in here you have the options to open the terminal for this, so you can go and SSH directly into the container. And here, for instance, I am in the application container. Again, you can see the logs for this, and you can just check and choose the container you want to fetch and run commands on it. So the interface, it's nice and it offers all the things that you need. In here, for instance, you see that in the projects you have the options to create a project. And in here you have the applications. So basically in here you create an application, you can deploy it from GitHub or a Git that you have. It has also an options to auto deploy. So in case something is changed, it will automatically fetch the new version. It will apply it. And in here you have the options to add a database. So in here you have the Postgres, Mongo, MariaDB, MySQL, and Redis. And in here you provide all the details. You have also the Docker image that you use for the database that you can add. Okay, then you have the compose files. Basically in here you have the options to add the Docker Compose applications. If in case you have like some applications that you want to add with Docker Compose, there are a lot of open source applications that can be deployed. I created a lot of video in the past with such applications. In here we have the options to add your compose file and deploy it. And in here you have some templates. So for instance, right now there are only 3 templates. So you see that you have the options to deploy the Pocket Base, the Plausible, which I deployed, the calc.com. So you just hit deploy. And right now the Plausible was created. It is the second one that I have. And in here you have the options to go and modify the configuration and start it. You have the options to add environment variables besides the ones that are already there, to add a domain, to change the port and things like that. These are very easily to do. And let's go and check also the compose option. So compose, just to see what is here. So in here you see that I have the compose that has been added, and in here you have the options to deploy it from GitHub, from a Git. You can deploy raw one. You can add the compose file in here with the application you have. You have the option to rebuild it to enable the auto deploy in case it's on GitHub. You have all of the options with the environment monitoring, logs, and all the things. So right now this is what the Dokploy is offering, and in this video we're going to see exactly how you can install it, assign an SSL certificate to this deployment, and start adding your own project into Dokploy, so you can start building your applications. To spin up a VPS server, I have here Helsner. This is the provider that I am using for VPS servers. It offers a very good performance. It has data centers in Europe and US, and in here I will just spin up a test server that we are going to use and deploy Dokploy, so you can see exactly how this can be deployed easily. And the Dokploy, it offers also IRM support, and it also works with x86. And in here I will choose Ubuntu. I will add a data center in Helsinki for this, and in here you have the options to choose an Intel or an ARM. I will choose an Intel one. lately Hasner added some very interesting Intel VPS servers that are quite affordable and offers a good performance. I did a video comparing all of this and the performance in the past. I will let a link to the description if you want to check that video and see which is the best options for you. So for this I will just choose the Intel one with 2 CPUs, 4 GB of RAM, 40 GB of disk space, 20 TB of traffic, and this costs about €5.50 with everything. And let's go. I will let the IP v4 and v6. I will choose my SSH key, so we should have an SSH key added so we can access this server securely. I will not enable the firewall right now for this, and I will just put in here test, and right now I will hit create and buy, and this will start to spin off our Dokploy server with an IP address. And afterwards we are going to connect to this server and we are just going to install Dokploy, and we're going to do some basic configurations and deploy a static website, deploy maybe the plausible application, so you can see how you can use Dokploy easily and deploy your applications. So right now I have the servers created in here. I will just go and connect to this server. I will fetch the IP address of this server and I will open a terminal. And in here I have the keys and I will just SSH to this server. So I will just use the key with the root and then I will put the IP address, and in here I will be logged into the server. So right now I am in the server. If you are going to use top, you see that you have the server created. It's using the two cores and the 4 GB of RAM. This server is not having any swap, so as a first step it will be good to have swap added to this server. So in case there are idle processes, to go there in the swap and not use your CPU in case you remain without memory to utilize that swap. So in here I have some commands that we are going to run. I will let a link to the article that will help you add this swap. So basically what this will do, it will just create a 2 GB swap file, it will alter the permission, it will make it a swap file, it will add it, and it will add it in the FS tab. So every time when the server is rebooted, to allocate this swap file in function of the RAM that you're using there. You may want to alter the size of the swap file. For this small server with 4 GB of RAM, 2 GB of swap is more than enough. So let's go and open the terminal and run all of these commands in here. And right now the swap has been added. So you see in here that right now you have 2 GB of swap that it's in here, and right now nothing is used. And the next thing that we are going to do is to go and install the Dokploy on our VPS server. And to do that, I'm just going to copy their installation script. Basically, this is just a command that we are running on the server, and this will install everything, including Docker and everything that the Dokploy needs to run on your VPS server. So let's go and run it. And in here, let me clear this so you can better see. And let me run the car command with the installation things. And this will start updating all the packages and install again all the things that are needed for Dokploy to run successfully. It will add the repo for Docker, it will install Docker. And this should take about, I don't know, 1 or 2 minutes to finish. It doesn't take a lot of time because this needs to pull the images that Dokploy will use. I've seen that the Dokploy image, it has about 1.5 GB, and this can take some time to download. Let's wait for this to finish, and at the end we are going to check what we have in the Docker and how we can access our Dokploy application, so we can start configure it in the UI and add a SSL certificate so we can access it safely. So you see in here that this is the IP address, this is the IPv6 IP address for this. You can use also the server IP address with the 3000 port. If you want, it's up to you. And in here right now, if you are going to check this with Docker PS, you will see that you have a couple of applications. You have Redis that is running, you have the traffic that is running, the version is 2.5 for this, and you have the latest application with the 3000 port that it's running. And for instance, let's see if this IPv6 is working. If not, we are going just to use the server IP address with the 3000. Okay, this doesn't look to work, so let's go and fetch the IP address. And let's go and put the 3000 port in here. And right now we're successfully accessing the Dokploy application. And the first thing that we're prompted to do is to create an account on this server. So in here I'll put my email address, I'll put a password, and I'll hit register. And right now you are into the interface of this and you don't have any project set up, you don't have anything. In here the first thing that you should do, if you want to access this securely, you should go to settings, for instance, in here. And in here you have the options to add a domain. So what I will do in here, I will create a domain or a subdomain. In my case, I have here something, and I will just add a record in here. I will use the doc for this, and I will put the IP address of the server, and I will not proxy through Cloudflare. Basically, you need to create an A record with the subdomain, and let me use Dokploy for this to have the complete name. And right now you have the Dokploy that is pointing to our server, and we can go and add our SSL certificate. Let me see in here. So Dokploy, it was like this. Let me check. Yeah, Dokploy windows.com. And in here you have the Let's Encrypt email address. Let's add my email address. And in here I have the options to choose a certificate, and let's use the Let's Encrypt certificate. I will click save. So right now the domain is assigned, and it can take about 1 minute or 2 minutes for everything to be set up behind the scenes. So we can go and see if we can access this server with an SSL certificate directly with the domain. So you see in here that right now I am accessing our Dokploy installation with the domain and the SSL certificate. I will put my email address and I will hit login. So right now I am accessing this server securely. I have the monitoring options in here that it's running, and you see the utilizations, and in here you have the Docker, and it's not displaying everything because it don't have anything. No application, we have only the Dokploy containers that are there. And right now the other thing that we can do, for instance, is to go to settings and we'll go and add our GitHub. So basically if you want to deploy GitHub application, you can go and link your GitHub with this. And let's create a GitHub application. I will sign in. I'll put something in here because I have a couple of testings that are added. And right now we just hit the install GitHub app. I will allow it to all the repositories. And right now GitHub is linked with this Dokploy installation. And what we can do is go to the project and let's create a new project. Let's create a website, a static website. And in here I will just put my static website like this. You can add a description if you want, and I will hit just create. So right now if we go to projects, you'll see in here that you have the my static website, and in here if you click it you can create a service for this, and this will be an application. And in here I will just put the front end. And if we go and check the front end for this, in here you see that you have some options. You can deploy in Docker, you can use Git for deployments, And in here, I will just select a repo. For this, I have a couple of repos. I have a static website created. I'll just want to show you how this is working so you can deploy it. In here, I will choose the branch. It will be main. The build path, it will be the default one. In here, you have the options to choose the NIC specs or other build types that you want. For this purpose, I will just use the NIC spec and I will hit save for this. And in here you have the options to add some environment variables. If you want to change the port, you have the monitoring. Here you have the logs. Right now you don't have anything. In here the deployments. You have the options to add the domain. We're going to do that for this when you deploy this. And in here you have the advanced options. And right now let's start this application. Let's go and hit deploy. And right now this will start to deploy our application. And if we are going to deployments, in here we have the options to view the logs. And in here you see that you have the options to view all the logs for this. And you will see that this application, it will start running and it will finish quite fast because this is just a simple website that I'm using. And right now this application it's running, and let's see this. Okay. Right now I'm seeing here that it's still in the deployment phase, so let's wait for a couple of minutes for everything to be deployed. Okay, Docker deployed, so everything should be deployed right now. So you see in here that you have the done in here and everything stopped. And in here you have the options to add a domain for this, and I will just create a domain that we're going to use. And this is also in a subdomain test static, and I will just put the same IP address of the server. I will not proxy through Cloudflare right now because I want to show you how this is working to add the SSL certificate and everything. So right now I have a subdomain with test static at bit.com domain. So we can go in here and add our domain. So basically in here you add your host. The host, it will be test static windows.com, and in here you have the path, it is the default one. Here you have the port. Basically I didn't set any port for this, so it will use the container port which comes with the 80 port. In here we have the options to add a certificate. I will add a encrypt certificate. I will enable this, and right now I will hit create. So right now we should have a domain added for these applications, and if we are going to check it, let's go and see. You will see that the website is up and running and it's using our domain with the SSL certificate in here, and everything is running correctly. If we are going to check the logs, in here you see that you have some requests that are made to the container. In here, let me close this. Monitoring, it should display the users for this container, which shouldn't be a lot because it's just a static website. In the advanced you can run commands, cluster, sign limits, volumes, basic authentication. You can change the configurations for the application and things like that. If we're going to check the other projects, then for instance, if we're going to create a database, just go in here and you can choose your database. Let's go and add a MariaDB. Here you can add your MariaDB name, database name for this. And in here you have the database user. The password in here. For the database, you have the root that you add. And in here you have the options to add a Docker image if in case you want to use something else. Right now by default it will use MariaDB 11. It's okay like this. I just want to test it, and in here you see that you have the application, the database that has been created, and in here you have the options to start deploying. You can add environment variables if you want. You have the monitoring, you have the logs, you have the advanced things in here. So let's go and start deploy. And right now this will go and fetch the image, and it will start our database at the end. And right now you see that the application is up and running, and you have the options to see again the monitoring. You have the options to see the logs for this. So you see in here that right now the application is starting, and it's the database is starting and it's running. In here in the advanced, you have the other things that you can set. You have the volumes, for instance. In here you have the mount path for the database. You can enable backups if you want. So yeah, you have the options to internal connection URL to connect to this installation. The other things that you have in here, you can go and choose from a template. And yeah, right now there aren't a lot. For instance, for the plausible, let's go and check this again. And in here you just go, and for plausible you have like a environment variables that you need to set. You can add SMTP servers in here. You have the options to change the port. You have the options to change the URL for your application. This is the one that it's added by default. These are just the minimal things that are added for the plausible application to run. In here you have also the options to change your Docker Compose file if you want, with everything. And in here to deploy it, you just hit the deploy. And right now this will start deploying, and again in here you can view the logs for this deployment, and you see that everything just started to be deployed. This plausibility using like 3 images. So you see that the deployment is finished. So right now you should have a running application in plausible easily. And if you go to general, you will have a domain that has been added in here. This will be fetched directly from the environment variable. So if you want to change your domain, you need to go in here when you deploy this and add your actual domain for plausible. And in here you have the advanced options, and you see in here that you have the mount paths for this. For the monitoring, again in here you have the options to see the resources. You can change the containers and see exactly the usage for that container. Let's go and let's see if this URL that has been created is working. So you see in here that right now the plausible application, it's up and running. You can create an account and you can start using it. It has a certificate by default, and you can go and even open the terminal and do the commands in there if you want. Right now, if we are going to go into the Docker, you'll see that in here you have all the images that are running, and in here you see that right now we have 5 Docker containers. We have 5 because we have a Maria database. This is for the Postgres, and this is my front-end applications, the static website that I've just created. So this is Dokploy, and it is that easy to deploy an application with this tool. There are like other tools that can help you ditch Vercel or other serverless platform that you're using and move to a VPS server. Some of the known ones are Coolify and EasyPanel. Both are offering similar options, and you can use them to move away from serverless platform and maybe have a better sleep at night, because you will not run into the risk of having to pay a lot of money for serverless platform in case something happens. You can put your applications under Cloudflare if you want to be more secure and not use your server a lot, because this will cache everything and it will help with DDoS protections and firewall for free. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and in case you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe.